enjoying this weekly, even though it doesn't look like I've filled a lot in. Most of these things I can tick off, but I haven't gotten around to it. And as you can see, I haven't gotten around to starting my doodles yet either. But before the week's up, I will be filling those in. Hello again team, it's Jess or JashiiCorrin, and welcome back for another weekly plan with me. In today's video, I'm going to be setting up for week 20, 2019, which is the 13th through to the 20th of May. As we did last week, I'm going to be answering the questions that were left on last week's plan with me in today's video as well. As was said last week, thank you for today's question askers. I always appreciate getting questions from you guys. And so if there's a question that anybody wants answered in next week's plan with me, please do drop that in the comment section below. Our first question comes from 975 Pumpkin, who asks, have you ever tried using stickers in your bujo? I have started using them and I'm in love. I don't actually get to use stickers very often in my journal. I think that it would be kind of a fun challenge to have me set up a weekly spread where I pretty much just use stickers and washi. I'm going to keep that one on the cards for later, not do that today. But I do really like stickers. I have these sticker books and I also have a bunch of other ones, so it would be kind of fun to use a couple of these and some washi tape and make a weekly spread. As you'll remember from last week's video, I did a gradient down the side here where I layered the pens, and I also used a little bit of water to help blend the colours in. The only issue with this is, of course, that the STM doesn't take water very well, so I did end up getting a little bit of bleed through. Not too sure at this stage how I'm going to tackle that one, and I'm also not too sure at this stage what I'm going to do with next week's setup, but I think I'm going to do a kind of build the plane as you fly it approach. To start with though, I'm going to go lay some washi tape down at the top of the page. What I'm now going to do is rule up some boxes up the top to house the events for the week. As usual, I'm using my M-size Pit Artist pen to do all of the outlining. While I'm doing this, our next question comes from Daphne Pratt, who asks, how do you know which spreads to try in a way where you're trying something new, but it still has the possibility of being functional? I get nervous with trying new spreads because I'm afraid that if it doesn't work for me, I'll be disorganized and then I'm screwed for the whole week. Daphne, I totally understand how that feels. The thing that I try to do when I am trying something new is taking a spread that I already quite enjoy and know that works for me and just changing something small about it. So making an adjustment in maybe including another section or changing one section to be for something else. I know that's a little bit vague. I'll see if I can find an example for you. So this is a spread that I used in week 1 of term 1 last year. I had previously used it before with a pretty similar layout. So we've got each day of the week across the top with the weekend down the side here. I had space for a mini calendar, some things to tell me what was coming up next week, and then my meals down the bottom. Each of these here, these numbers represent my school periods. And I did a similar layout again when I got to April, I think it was. But you can see there are differences in this one. So for instance, I didn't use the mini calendar on this one. I included a longer space for a to-do list because I knew that in that week I had a bunch of things that I wanted to write down as just general tasks. So you can see it is a layout that I know that I've used before and have enjoyed, but it is different because there are slightly different elements on here. So that's a good example of making just a small change to see if you like something. Another thing is also making sure you're paying attention to the particular elements on your weekly spreads that do work for you really well. So for instance, I know that for me, I will always prefer vertical layouts rather than horizontal ones. So if we make a comparison here, these are horizontal to me because the weeks go down the page and you read them across. Whereas something like, oh, there are my doodles from last week. If we look at something like, so even these ones I would consider to be vertical because you've got the days of the week across, even though the page is divided in half. Let's see if we can find another example for you. So yeah, similar to the one I was showing you before. So we've got the days of the week that go across the top, and then you read them down to have all of your task lists. I know that that style of weekly works best for me. So whenever I'm going to try a new layout, I will always gravitate towards ones that are laid out with the week days, or the days of the week rather, across the top, and read them down. So that's also something you'd want to consider when setting up a new style of weekly spread, or a new type of spread in general. So trying to figure out which parts of the spreads you are using work really well, keeping those, and then changing the things that you're curious to include, if that makes sense. I hope that was helpful. If anybody else has any ideas though, please drop them in our comments so that Daphne can check in with those as well. And me, because I'm curious. As you saw before with my doodles, because of the doodles I'm doing kind of lend themselves better to having a higher box rather than a wider box, I think what I'm going to do for my doodles in this week is just leave the bottom space free to house all of those. So I'm going to put in another box here to house a running to-do list, and then a box down the bottom for those doodles. Our third question comes from one of our inquirers from last week, whose new question is, what made you decide to become a teacher? Coming from a family with many teachers, mum, grandparents on mum's side, great uncles and more, I've seen the huge amount of work and the stress it gives, and I've heard my mum complain quite a lot as well. So I always wonder why people want to become a teacher. She does really love teaching though. They've also given me a pronunciation lesson, and that the OU is pronounced as a U sound, as in the IPA symbol, like the O in lose. So that would make it Marlouse or Marlouse. If either of those are close to correct, please let me know. In terms of your question though, I just really enjoy being part of the learning journey, if that kind of makes sense. I like being able to teach people new things and being there when they get it. The aha moments really kind of sell it for me. As a high school teacher, I also know that for me, high school was a little bit rough in places, and so I want to make sure that I can be a positive force in somebody else's high school journey. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is a huge amount of work, and I'm not sure how long I will end up sticking with it. The intention was that this would be my forever career and I just stay a teacher for the rest of my life. But I can really understand why so many people leave the profession after only a short amount of time. Because really, it is a lot to do and can be quite stressful. So we have the running to-do list boxes and the doodle box. Now I'm going to go and add some colour. I do just realise I did the colours the wrong way around, so we are now improvising and it's going to be purple and blue up the side, it seems. So I just used my Uniball Signo white gel pen to draw a line between where the dark blue patches meet the purple and also where they meet the blue, just to add a little bit of visual interest. And now for the colours at the top. I think the main reason that I'm a teacher is that I like people. I enjoy getting to interact with people, whether they be my colleagues or my students. And as I mentioned, I really just like being part of a positive schooling experience. Going in again with that Pitt Artist pen to just write out the days of the week. I kind of feel like having this coloured strip here makes it look a little unbalanced, so I'm going to go do the same thing on the other side as well. I've also decided I want to colour these bars in black just to separate the days out a little bit more, so I'm going to use my brush-tipped Pitt Artist pen to do that. Do you ever make a spread and you're just kind of adding and adding and adding to it because it doesn't seem like it's quite finished? Because that's exactly what I feel like right now. It's kind of like, almost like when you make a mistake in your journal and you're like, oh, I'll just do this to fix it, and then whatever you do, you kind of think, oh god, that doesn't look right. And so then you try and do something else to fix it, and then you just make it worse. I mean, not to say I'm making this spread worse. It's just, so I didn't have an initial vision when I went into this, so I can't really say I'm like stuffing up my vision. But I don't even know where this was going. Anyways, it's just kind of one of those spreads that, as I said, it's just being built as the plane flies, so building the plane as you fly the plane. I don't know how that saying goes. I think I've gotten off topic. And I think to balance those black bars out, I'm now going to go and thicken these lines up as well, just so, again, it looks a little bit more balanced. So as I was just saying, it's literally like one of those things, oh, I'm just gonna add this, oh, I'm just gonna add that, oh, I'm just gonna add this. Just as I go and fill in some of the events I have next week, I'd like to throw today's first question back to you guys. Are you the kind of person who prefers to use stickers and washi tape in your journal? Or are you a lot more likely to go in just with pens? I am interested to see how using this layout next week goes. Mostly because when I do my doodles, I usually like to use individual closed off boxes for each of them. Thank you for watching, and if you liked today's video, feel free to go check out another one. Until next time, bye!